Hi, Stella from North Star Crochet here. So I thought today we'd do a little tutorial on the turning chain and straight edges. So I've got two examples here. As a learner, you're sort of taught to do the turning chain as an extra chain, so you don't count it as a stitch. And obviously it gives bulges at the side. If you do count it, the turning chain as a stitch, it makes for neater edges. So we're just going to go straight into it, and I'm going to show you both methods. So first of all, we're going to make a slip knot. Okay, and then I'm just going to do 6 stitches just to show you as an example. So we're going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So those are going to be your 6 foundation stitches. Now we always do a turning chain to gain the height for a double crochet. This is only a double crochet that I'm doing in US terms. So normally most patterns will tell you to do a chain 3 for your turning chain. So we've got 6 chain there, so we're going to do an additional 3. 1, 2, 3, which is your turning chain, and that makes up your side. So that's the bottom, that's going to be the side. And then they tell you not to count that as a stitch. That's just to make the side to get the height for your first double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, sorry, because that's a chain 3 for the side. So 1, 2, 3, 4th chain from the hook. We're going to do your first double crochet. That's 1. There's more yarnage here. 1, and then into your next chain, we're going to do your second double crochet, and then into your next chain, your 3rd double crochet, next chain, your 4th double crochet, and then your 5th, and then into your last chain, your final 6 double crochet. And we're now at the end of the work. So what we do is we do a turning chain of 3. So we're going to do 1, 2 and 3. We're then going to turn your work. Now because this isn't counting as a stitch, this chain, we're going to be going into your first stitch here to do your first double crochet. So we're yarning over, going into the first stitch and doing your first double crochet. And then we're going to go into the second stitch. I always remember the stitches because there's like 2 lines here which look like a sideways inverted comma, and then a divot, which is the top of your stitch. Okay, so we're going to go into the second stitch, do another double crochet, and you've got your 2 inverted commas and a divot, so we're going to go into that one. So that's your 3rd double crochet, and then your 4th, and into your 5th, and then you've got 1 inverted commas left and a divot before the chain, and that's your last stitch. And then we're going to chain 3 for your turning chain. Then we're going to turn the work, and again we're going to go into that first stitch there because this chain is not counting as a stitch. So go into your first chain, you've got your top stitch there, and do your first double crochet, second, and then we're going to work down to the end into the divots until you've got 6 double crochet per row. So that's 3, 4, 5, and the last one before the chain, so you've got one last inverted commas and divot before your turning chain at the end. Let's do a double crochet. So I'll just do 3 rows to show you. So we're going to chain 1 and cut it and pull through. That was how you normally learn, and that's a good way of learning because it's just teaching you the stitches and you're going into stitches rather than chains, which is a bit more fiddly. So let's do the other version now. So we're going to do a slip knot, and then we're going to do the same amount of chains, so we're going to do 6 chains again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, now our turning chain is going to be the same, which is 3, so we're going to do an additional 3 that makes up the side and to get the height of the stitch. But because that 3 chain there is going to make up our first row, so we'd normally go in the 4th chain from the hook, but because our chain's already in there, which counts as our first EC, we're going to go into the 5th chain from the hook to make our second double crochet for this particular one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th chain from the hook will be our second double crochet, because our chain is going to count as our first stitch. That's going to be our second stitch. So then we're going to do a 3rd double crochet, a 4th double crochet in the next chain, and then 5th in the next chain, and then in the last chain will be our final double crochet to make 6. Okay, so let's work down, and then we're going to chain 3 for our turning chain. 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to turn our work. Now because that chain is counting as our first double crochet, you don't go into that first stitch, otherwise you'd have 2 stitches coming out of that first stitch. So you're going to go into the second stitch to make your second double crochet. So that's 2. So then we're going into the 3rd to make our 3rd double crochet. Again, you've got the exclamation marks and a divot, exclamation marks and a divot. So going into them, and then the 5th one. Now that's your last normal stitch, so we're left with the chain, and we're going to work into that chain. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So you did 3 chains, so we're working into that top chain, and the best way to find it is, see that diagonal stitch there is going into that chain. So you find the diagonal stitch, you're going to go through the chain, oops, a bit fiddly, and you're going to pick up 2 loops on the chain, but make sure you've got the bum of the stitch there as well, and that you're not going through that space there. So you're finding that diagonal, you're going through the chain, you've still got 2 stitches on your hook, but you've got the bum of the stitch there as well. So we're gonna, oh, let's do a double crochet as well. So yarn over, you found that diagonal bit, you've gone through the stitch, you're pulling up a loop, and you're yarning over, pulling through once, pulling through twice. Okay, so then we're going to do 3 chain again. Turning chain, you're turning your work. You're not going into that first stitch because we've already got the double crochet there, and we're building our towel block up quite nicely there. Then going to yarn over and go in the second stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, third stitch, and then fourth stitch, fifth stitch, the final one before the chain, and then we're going to work into that top stitch of the chain. Again, that diagonal stitch there, that one there, yeah, is going into that top chain. You can also count up 1, 2, 3, so you know that's your top chain. So you're going to go into there, yarn over first, go into there, make sure you're picking up 2 loops on the top, and that you've got the bum of the stitch and you're not going into that gap underneath. And you pull through. Come on. There we go. Oops, dropped it. Let's try that again. Pull up a loop. There we go. Yarn over and through both. And I'm going to tie that off so you can see it. So that's using this chain stitch as a stitch, and that's using the chain stitch ignoring it as a stitch. So you get far straighter edges. Now you can try chaining 2 to make it a little bit better instead of chaining 3 as you're turning chain. And again, do the same with that one and see which works best for you. And that's it for today.